And again, it's one thing is, I think what's sad about this, and this comes back to what we both prefaced this whole conversation with, I do think being a caregiver, being a nurse, being a doctor can be an incredibly noble profession.
Mm.
But when you allow yourself to be hijacked by people who do not want the best for you, who do not care about your family, do not care about your children, do not care, don't actually care whether your grandparent lives or dies, when you allow yourself to be hijacked by that, you become like a tool of the state. Like, again, like there's two types of doctors. There's a doctor that can be following the Hippocratic Oath and be doing the best for his patients, but there's also the doctor that can be doing, experiments on his patients.
Exactly, yeah, and can be making them dependent and stuff, and just like I think I think there's also a kind of larger psychological thing going on here too, of like, for example, the archetype of the devouring mother
Yeah.
is an archetype of like Jordan Peterson is actually quite good on this. If you look up Jordan
Yeah,
Peterson's
it is
videos,
one of his best insights. I agree. Yeah.
I didn't think that's him at his best, actually. Like, I think, and it's true. Like, our society is one of kind of excessive of like harm through care, basically.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you put the superhero thing up, because there is like an argument against superheroes where it's like, I'm gonna save the town, and like you look at the town once they're done saving it and it's blown to pieces. So
Yeah,
because they're just barging through everything and knocking everything over. So you kind of have this like mindless, thoughtless carer who's doing much more damage than they are good, and like isn't able to step back and think, okay, how do I really do what's best for people? They're just responding and smothering them and caring for them in this hurtful sense. It also, in the sense with important word from Ivan Illich, iatrogenesis, which means harm through medical care.
Yeah.
Iatrogenesis, which comes from Greek, some Greek words. Itro, I think, is, I don't know, like I can't remember the exact etymological explanation, but yeah, basically that devouring mother archetype really is, I think, it's not just a family problem today, it's like a political problem on a large bureaucratic scale.
And I'm certainly not a utilitarian, but there is a case to be made that devouring mother, which our society is a, it's pathologically altruistic. Like it's altruistic for the sake of altruism, despite the consequences. It's like even though a homeless guy is going to go buy some alcohol or drugs or whatever, you still give him money.
Yeah.
It's despite the consequences. And a good example of that is in the UK, the massive, they called them Nightingale hospitals. They built them in the convention centre in London. They built them in the convention centre in Birmingham, and they cost millions and millions and millions of pounds. And it was so weird because they were built at the beginning of the pandemic and they were there for the summer, and there was no one in them because COVID is dangerous in the summer. And then they, got rid of them, and then they were complaining that the hospitals were filled during the winter, like they always are, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it was like such a waste of money, and it was done like pathologically. It wasn't done with any like logic, for example. Which is again, that's why this is a religious thing, because it's not done with any sort of actual logic. It's done with it's the overt scientism of it, which has it's masquerading as something which is consequential and has a logic behind it, but in fact it's still falling back on religious ideas of like pathological altruism and things like that.